Music. Okay, so this is a short story from a small but really nice part of Malta. A friend of ours, he was there for school and working part-time, told me about what happened. He lived with other international students, different nationalities. 2 of them were from Bangladesh, they spoke Bengali and lived with him. These students wanted to finish their studies but wanted to do something on the side because part-time jobs weren't enough. They decided to start a little business, a shop targeted at the expat community living in the neighborhood. The area had a lot of foreigners, Asians, Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladeshis, so they thought it'd be perfect. Lots of people who would want familiar groceries, spices, and the like. They found a small store that had been closed for a long time and managed to contact the owner. After some negotiation, they signed an agreement and opened a shop of mostly snacks, chocolate, soft drinks, even some alcohol. They put a lot of their savings into the lease and the initial stock. On the day they opened, one of the bottled soft drinks on the shelf suddenly burst. Then a second, third, fourth bottle, they didn't all fully explode, but the tops blew off and bottles cracked. At first they thought maybe it was a cooling problem in the truck or a manufacturing defect. They decided to shrug it off and keep going. Days passed. They worked shifts, sometimes one brother would man the shop for 8 hours, then the other would take over. The shop itself was small, a narrow front area with shelves and items, and behind that there was a deeper section but no real exit. On one side of the building there was an old garage that had been closed for 25, 30 years. It was full of junk. Old cars, parts of scrap metal, thrown away stuff, basically deserted. One of the guys who worked the counter started getting a creepy feeling like someone was watching from behind him. There wasn't any real door at the back, but there were windows and glass in front. He'd catch a quick glimpse in the glass and think he saw a shape standing behind him, as if a person's body was there but hidden, with the face obscured. He told himself it was his imagination, did it 20 times, then tried to ignore it. Then there were other little things. Customers would come by, particularly one woman who kept coming to buy alcohol. She was a regular for a bit. Sometimes she'd pay with a large note and he'd have to go get change for her. One time she paid, left with a bottle, and then stayed away for 5 or 10 minutes in the back area of the shop before coming back out. He went to check and she'd gone. Once she came in and went toward the rear part of the store where there really is no back exit and just stayed there a long time. He walked back to see what was going on and felt a horrible chill. After a while, they started to hear noises from the garage next door, like the sounds of denting and painting, metal hitting metal, as if somebody was working on cars, even though the garage had been closed for decades and was covered in dust and debris. It was weird. You could see the layers of dust, the abandoned vehicles, the broken parts. Yet the sounds were unmistakable. At times, one of the brothers said he'd see the woman with the bottle walking out, and the other brother swore he hadn't seen anyone at all. There were shifts when one was present and the other wasn't, and sometimes both were there and still they disagreed about what had happened. It got so strange that they began asking neighbors, trying to find out about the place. They learned the area had a reputation. This shop had been rented out before, and tenants never lasted more than 10 or 15 days that they'd leave, and the owner would lock it up again. People in the neighborhood murmured that the garage and the building felt haunted. Still, my friends felt trapped. They'd signed the lease, spent money on stock and renovations. They couldn't just walk away without losing everything. Business kept failing. After about 2-3 weeks, maybe 20 days of their whole investment was gone. Nothing was selling the way they expected. The odd incidents kept happening. Customers stopped coming. Ultimately, they had to call the landlord and say they wanted out. They asked to close the shop for a month and end the lease early, but by then they'd already lost so much. They were terrified and frustrated. They tried to keep going because they couldn't afford to quit, but the fear was real and the money was gone. That's why I'm telling you this. The friend sent me a message apologizing for the trouble but wanted me to share the story. Music. That's the whole thing.